All right, folks, a lot's going on in the world, and we'll be reporting on that today and seeing who joins us. And all along those lines, a Montenegro shooting kills 12, including two children, according to what officials say. So, definitely, that was what the interior minister had said there in that part of the world, and definitely all along those lines. And the man who showed the world South Korea's deadly plane crash was reported on in the New York Times, and South Korean police banned Jeju air chief from leaving the country. So the damaged black box from the crashed South Korean plane will be sent to the U.S. for analysis as the investigation ramps up. And in Naples, Italy, a popular tourist destination suffering from violence and unemployment. So definitely, this whole notion of violence around the world is taking place not just here in the U.S. And we all know about the attack in New Orleans and the attack at the Trump Towers as well. And we'll be getting to news about that as well. Eastern Europe fumes as Zelensky pulls the plug on Russian gas transit to Europe. So European gas prices gain after the expiry of the Russia and Ukraine transit deal. So Ukraine closes the Russian natural gas pipeline into Europe, and definitely that is one of the stories that'll be in the news quite a bit in the whole European theater and everything like that. South Korea's impeached President Yoon Suk Yeol vows to fight until the end. An Israeli strike kills 11 people, including the head of Gaza police, Palestinian officials say. Gaza police chief was among at least 50 people killed in an Israeli airstrike as well. So it looks like Israel launches strikes on Gaza at the turn of the year. And the Syrian foreign minister in Saudi Arabia on a maiden trip as new rulers reset regional ties. So Syrian's foreign minister arrives in Saudi Arabia with a delegation. So we'll see how this alliance goes on as well, and whether how this plays out in the Middle Eastern theater and all in that kind of way. So quite a bit of interesting stories going on in that way. And the PA has halted Al Jazeera's West Bank broadcast amid criticism of its terror crackdown. So Palestinian Authority temporarily banned Al Jazeera. Al Jazeera says Palestinian Authority is trying to hide the truth with its ban. So it looks like the Palestinian Authority has suspended Al Jazeera's broadcast, citing incitement and bias. So definitely the media is in the news, even over there as well. And in a Russian offensive campaign assessment, a lot of folks are looking at the war. So Russian forces suffered more than 420,000 casualties, taking 1,600 square miles of territory. So definitely looks like there are some folks, like in the New Statesman, that saying Russia is on course to win the war in Ukraine, and others are saying that Ukraine is doing a valiant job and will probably be able to continue the resistance. And there are even some others that saying that this war could last for multiple years, and it's already gone for a long time as it is, and everything like that. And after a plane crash, Putin's partial apology speaks volume. So definitely, there's something going on as well, as apparently there are some folks that saying the Russian missile caused an Ak-2 crash, and an investigation has confirmed some of that as well. So a lot's going on in the world theater. Let's see what's happening in the U.S. and all along those lines. And then I'll bring in what Nick's got going on in his part of the world. And of course, a lot of people are worried about security and things like that. And we'll see if other folks join us as well. The folks are trying to secure the Sugar Bowl because that's definitely going to be postponed. It was postponed today and it'll be taking place later on this afternoon after that horrific attack that took place on Bourbon Street. So the victims of New Orleans Bourbon Street attack included students, former college football players, and a loving father, and everything like that. And apparently, the person that initiated the attack, Shamsud Din Jabbar, the suspect in that New Orleans truck attack, had some ties to North Carolina. I believe he had been a soldier at Fort Bragg and all along those lines. And he had some other ties where he was even living in apartments down there in Fayetteville as well. So it does look like there were some serious ties to North Carolina to this particular gentleman as well. And a Las Vegas Cybertruck explosion investigation leads to police to Colorado. So firework, gas tanks, and camping fuel used in the Tesla Cybertruck explosion outside Las Vegas Trump Hotel. So Cybertruck bomber apparently was also a military veteran who used the same car share app as the New Orleans attacker. So it looks like there were two attacks here. They were using the same car share app in that particular case. 15 dead and at least 30 hurt after FBI says Army veteran plows into crowd, like I said earlier, in the New Orleans French Quarters. And apparently there is some similarities between some of the things that were going on in that space. And Liz Cheney is among 20 chosen to receive the Presidential Citizens Medal. So Biden to honor Liz Cheney and Benny Thompson with the Civilian Medal. So Biden is giving the second highest civilian award to the leaders of the January 6th congressional hearing. So definitely that I'm sure will not exactly sit well with President-elect Trump and all along those lines. New York City contracts migrant shelter system amid fears of a Trump-era deportation. So New York nonprofits are providing resources as cities' new arrivals settle. So Democratic-led states still grapple with the whole notion of housing migrants and everything like that. And housing was even an issue that Leonardo Williams brought up on an interview that I saw with him recently when he was talking about some of the things that are still impacting Durham, North Carolina, including the whole notion of housing costs and the whole notion of crime and a number of other things as well. So I did see that interview on one of our local networks as well. And at least 10 were shot outside of a Queens nightclub as multiple gunmen opened the fire. So New York Police Department are seeking gunmen after 10 people were wounded outside a Queens venue. So the New York Police Department, in that case, they're saying it was not a terrorist attack after 10 were shot outside the New York City event space on New Year's Day. So definitely a lot going on in that space as well. And Honolulu firework blast kills 3 after inflicting war zone injuries. 3 killed in Hawaii explosion caused by an illegal fireworks display, and cleanup began as the Alamono neighborhood struggles with deadly firework blast. And it looks like this whole notion of a mild winter might be going out the door because multiple Arctic outbreaks are to affect more than 250 million in central eastern North Carolina into mid-January. So I know it's starting to get a little bit chillier here, and the real cold weather hasn't even got here because I think we're supposed to be in the teens and all along those lines starting in next week. So definitely there is some folks that will be bracing for a big blast of winter and some serious cold and all along those lines. So like I said, I've got Sasha Starr with me. I've also got Nick Palvano with me, and we'll see who else is going to join us as well. So how are you doing, Sasha? Hope you had a pleasant New Year. It looks like there's been a lot of news around violence. I know that President-elect Trump was talking tough on crime and everything after those 2 incidences that took place. And there is a whole football going on, football championship, and they postponed that game from yesterday until this afternoon at 4:00 because of that horrible incident that happened in New Orleans and everything like that. And then there was also the attack with a Tesla truck that they are saying was possibly a cyber attack as well, because I think that the person that did the one in New Orleans was waving an ISIS flag. So it looks like ISIS is still rendering its head and everything. So what is your take on Trump's tough talk and also on this notion of a war on crime and a war on terrorism? Because it does look like both of these attacks were probably terrorist related, even though both of the gentlemen apparently served in the U.S. military and everything like that. So what is your take on these attacks?
Timothy McVeigh, who blew up Oklahoma City, he was a vet. It doesn't, being in the Army doesn't exempt you from turning into a lunatic.
Exactly. I don't know what Trump has to do with all that. So what he does at this time is much more visible on foreign policies, specifically regarding the war between Russia and Ukraine. That's where the Trump will have his real test of what he is capable of, and that's the only thing what will distinguish his pre-election promises from reality, and that's the biggest test. In the next few weeks, we will see exactly what it is. So far, he has absolutely no progress, at least with Russia. And Ukraine, Zelensky, playing it very smart. Why would I argue with anything? Because Putin will do everything possible and impossible to derail any peaceful negotiations. And more analysts predict that war will last well into 2026.
Yeah, there's a lot of people are saying that and everything. Nick, what was your take on this attack?
I was going to ask Sasha, what sort of leverage does the United States have at this point in time with all this in the West, with all the sanctions obviously not working? What are they, as I say, what are they going to do?
There is only one, Nick. There is only one. Is to arm Ukraine to its teeth and let Ukraine beat out the hell out of Russia. That's only one remedy. There is none else. Remember 1938, 39 against Hitler? You could try anything what you wanted, but the war was inevitable. Now, here is war already there, and in case of Russia winning that war, it will go forward against Poland, Baltic states, Romania, Bulgaria,
Moldova,
Republic,
I heard
all the way.
all those next.
So then US either has to duck for cover and say, yeah, we didn't attack anybody. No, we are okay. We are good people. No, don't touch us. And go back to retreat into North America and get its fights against Canada and Mexico and Venezuela and all that stuff. Or they will have to send US troops to Europe. And just a single thought of it can make Trump cry, because this is not what he promised. He promised to finish the war in one day.
But speaking of promises, that was one of the things, Nick, that he did promise, and apparently that's what he was trying to do. That's where I was going with those two shootings and with those two terrorist attacks, that he said he was going to get tough on crime, and apparently he was talking tough in his latest remarks as though he was going to, I guess, throw the book at these two individuals, the gentleman that I mentioned earlier, and the other one, Matthew Livelsberger, I believe was his name, and everything.
Throw the book at them, but they're both dead. But I do have some statistics. So looked it up. There's 16 million vets in the U.S., which is roughly the same number as there are undocumented immigrants, and 5 times as many vets as there are Muslims in the U.S. And vets have PTSD. 7% of vets PTSD. 1/3 of vets depression. 1/6 of vets have alcohol issues. 1/6 anxiety. And a bunch of other, being in the military can subject you to, sometimes you have brain trauma from being close to explosions. So statistically, it's not super unexpected that some of the stuff that people do in America that's terrible will be committed by a veteran.
And that makes a lot of sense. And veterans have always had an issue with mental health. I've got some friends that are in the veteran space, including one that's been on this show and everything, that have dealt with some things around bipolar. And there are some things that are dealing with treatment on a regular basis and all along those lines. So, yeah, mental health is a big issue for the veterans and everything. There is a person that's connected to Trump that has got some good news and some bad news. So I'm going to toss this to Sasha and see what his thoughts are. But apparently Elon Musk got some good news, because his allies have joined a lawsuit against the company that runs ChatGPT, which is OpenAI, and they're trying to let his company, which is a competitor, XAI, I think it's called, and everything. So it looks like there might be an opportunity to break up the ChatGPT semi-monopoly, because I don't think that they have a total monopoly on AI and everything. But then the opposite news of that was that Tesla stocks went down, and I know you follow the stocks, and they said that the annual EV sale, particularly in the EVs, declined for the first time in over a decade. So apparently the EVs are not going all that well, because they declined for the first time in over a decade, and I'm sure this attack won't help those stocks as well. But what's your take on how Tesla as a company is doing?
I just want to talk about AI, because in today's LA Times, there was an editorial that says, are you going to be mean to your phone when it has feelings? And the editorial suggested that within 10 years, AI will start having feelings. I think that's certainly within 10 years, might be earlier, might be 5 years, might be 8 years. At the very least, AI will think it has feelings because it's been trained on the thoughts of humans who have feelings. So AI will believe it does because AI is chugging along, making life weird. And the editorial said, we're probably going to F that up as badly as we've F'd up other stuff. Well, that AI will suffer immensely before we figure out that it's capable of suffering, which isn't to say we should start worrying about our phone's feelings, but it is to say that AI is making life weird.
Making life weird. By the way, speaking of life weird, and I'll get back to some more serious news and everything, but since I've got Nick here, I have to let him know, because I just happened on January 1st, that yours truly is now an award-winning author and everything, because Brian Shulman, who did the What's Up Wednesdays and the Shout Out Saturdays, and written several books. He's a LinkedIn influence and everything. He and his partner, Nancy Deborah Barrows, have written a book with several authors, including myself, that is already apparently on the Amazon list and everything. So we are now definitely on the Amazon list, and maybe we got to get a book of other people, even from this network, to write passages and create an Amazon book, because it's already on Kindle and everything. And one of the things that they tout in the book is the fact that they had an award, and was a award-winning global award that they won, which was the Pod TV Awards that was given to them when we had the award show about 2 years ago. So they actually tout that in the book, that they are an award-winning TV show.
That's good. I think that's when it was IBM TV.
Yes, it was when it was IBM TV. It was at that time, but they do tout it.
Their name, or at least they say it is. So not much we can do. But let's get back to this immigration problem. If I want to know what happened in Spain, apparently 2,000 immigrants went into the Canary Islands, which is part of Spain, and the Spanish don't know what to do with them. They get on boats. They come from all over Africa, and then they dock in the Canary Islands. Not really sure if the United States has a vocal and consistent and polished immigration policy. Everybody says we need immigration reform, and no one has a policy. Mine is really simple: pay to play. They do it a lot in Europe. They do it a lot around the world, and you could exercise that same in the United States. United States, you have a demand, which are immigrants. You have a supply, which is unlimited, really. You can let them all in. But we also have a huge national debt, about 35 trillion, 36. Make them pay. Bring them in. Do not just deport them. That costs money. There's no income to the United States when that happens. It's a bad policy. So my solution would be pay a fine, do background checks, let them stay, and if they don't, then go ahead and deport them. But I don't have a problem with it. Yeah,
it used to be a kind of a cliche or a joke that if you went to a restaurant, you ate, and you didn't have money to pay, you wash dishes. So take your idea, Nick. Not that any of these ideas can be implemented because Congress is frozen, but if they can't pay your 10 grand, we throw up factories and we just say, well, go to work and pay us. Here's a job doing some miserable.
Yeah. You can give them alternative methods to pay. So I would agree with that. And also, like they have here in Spain and Greece and Portugal, they have golden visas. What's that? Somebody writes a check for $500,000 or $250,000, depending what country you're in. You buy a home or you invest in their country, and they give you a visa. So there's definitely in Europe a pay-to-play type of deal. I don't know why they don't have that in the United States.
Well, we do. It's a lot of money. We don't call it that.
We don't call it that.
Any country in the world, if you offer enough money, if you bring enough money in, it might be 2 million, it might be 5 million, the country will say, yeah, come in with your money. The U.S. has the same thing. We just don't call it a golden visa.
Well, speaking of coming in with your money, Nick, you'll be glad to know, because I actually saw Facebook post, so it is actually true and everything along those lines. Not that Facebook is always true, but one of our hosts on our show actually brought in the new year in a country that you have a great deal of respect for. So Coco McMillan actually was part of a New Year celebration in Marrakesh, Morocco. So she was actually playing on New Year's Eve, literally in Morocco, because her friends that run a agency, an entertainment agency, actually brought her in. And if you look on her Facebook and you know that she does her show, I'm not sure that she'll do it this Thursday, but she will be back next Thursdays, that she performed a couple of days ago, literally from Morocco, bringing in the new year of 2025.
Okay. Yeah, right.
I just looked it up. We have a golden visa. It's called the EB-5 Immigrant Investor Program. It's not even that much money. Invest a minimum of $800,000 in a U.S. commercial enterprise.
Right.
Create at least 10 jobs for U.S. citizens. And that doesn't get just you in, it gets you and your immediate family members. So that's a pretty good deal.
I want to come back to
I would agree with you. And the thing is, and this, the problem, which is Toby's not here, but I'll defend what he'd say. They can't afford 800,000. That's the reason I said, well, make it 10. I mean, the thing is, even somebody who's working, a hard worker, can afford to pay 10 now or 10 over a period of time. And then some of the people go, well, that's not enough. Then make it 20. But solve the problem where America
wait a minute. You say that that's easy for people to get. I mean, the money that is out there is hard, but even the 10 can be hard, because another person that is oftentimes on the network, has not been here for a week or two, has been complaining about how he's finding a hard time just getting the money to live. That being Adam Lamparello, and I can relate to what he's saying and everything. So even 10 might be hard to so many people to get, when people are finding it hard to get money in general and everything. So it sounds like 10 might even be a hard limit for folks.
But the thing is, here's the point. It's not meant to be easy. If life was easy and money was easy, everybody would do it. It is actually meant to be difficult. And so the thing is, the real problem you have in the States, you have the skip the line policy. No one likes skipping the line. I mean, have you ever stood in line, somebody just jumps right in front of you and walks on in? That makes
wait a minute. I have to defend skip the. I have to defend. I have to defend skip the line policies, Nick.
Adam says I can't come up with the money. I can't come up. No problem. We have a free airplane ticket back to their home country. Goodbye. And when you come up with the money,
I was a doorman for 25 years in bars. I ran the line, and I and customers hate when people skip the line. You have people waiting 40 minutes to get into a club. Somebody walks past and like everybody at the front of the line, what the hell? I go, they work there. They're coming to get their pay.
But Rick, I have to actually flip the opposite part of that, because I'm going to somewhat defend the skip the line policy, because there's many people that are part of this network know we did not do it last year, but for many years, 10 years to be exact, and hopefully it'll come back next year. I was part of the Road to the Apollo crew, where we did a talent show and then took the winners up to New York and everything. And part of the benefit of the prize was that we got to skip the line. So the winners got to actually go above the line and go past, because if you've been to any of those award shows, there's a lot of lines that are there, whether it's Americans Got Talent or Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, which is a game show, or a number of other things. But we actually got to skip the line, and that was the benefit of being on the contest.
Yeah, and by the way, skip the line exists in Europe also, but you know how it works. If you want to skip the line, you pay extra, and then you skip the line. It also works in Disney World. Right. In Disney World, if you want to not be part of the stupid line, you pay extra and you skip the line. The U.S. needs to implement policies like this. I can't believe, with a country that has over 300 million people, that one of them doesn't come up with a very good, sound immigration policy. Or if it does, why is Congress, who's supposed to be the best and the brightest, not coming up with any ideas?
But isn't part of the problem? Hold on a second. Isn't part of the problem with not just skip the line, but in general, because we've heard this from the immigration debate for years, is that people are oftentimes concerned about who gets to immigrate and who does not get to immigrate, because there was that between Cuba versus Haiti, because Haiti was seen as a much poorer country, and Cuba, of course, had some affluent people. So that, and then there was also the whole matter with, believe it or not, around skin tone and everything. So there was definitely conversations around who gets in and who doesn't get it.
who cares about the countries, how much money they have? I don't care if they come from Haiti. If the guy goes, well, I'm from Haiti. Well, how you doing? Well, I got about like 800,000. Then give me go ahead and get your EV visa and come in. If you're from Cuba, you have it, you get to come in. Money is a universal concept, Mark. You don't need quotas, which they have right now in all these stupid countries. Instead, money. Bring us your best, your brightest, and your richest, and get rid of the stupid Statue of Liberty thing that says, bring us your poor, you're hungry, and you're tired. No, send all those people to China. We don't want them.
Well, speaking of things that we don't want, hold on a second. Speaking of things we don't want, I want to get to another topic. I kind of alluded to it earlier, and I did see that Kim was here as well. But not just here in the United States, but around the world, gun violence seems to be picking up. And we've only started 2025. And I've already mentioned several killings, including some mass killings, including one in the Baltic in Montenegro, and one that apparently impacted Italy. And of course, there's the countries that are known for their gang violence, like Trinidad, Tobago, and Haiti, and a number of other places as well, and even Mexico. So what can we do globally about this whole notion of gun violence? Because like I said, every time I do a news story or a news brief every morning, it seems like there are multiple gun incidences throughout the world. So is there anything that we can do to curtail the gun violence that isn't always war related?
Yeah, Ernie said what you need to do. You need to repeal the Second Amendment. Until you repeal the Second Amendment, this is a worthless conversation. We should move on.
Well, hold on. Even if you repealed the Second Amendment, which you're not going to be able to get away with, the U.S. has 460 million guns for 250 million Americans, with 15 million more every year. So that means we're about 3 years away from 2 guns for every American adult.
Yeah, let's see. Repeal the amendments to start.
So the only thing we're going to be able to do,
until you get rid of that ancient law that came into the 1700s, you know, you're not going to go anywhere with no matter what law you pass to try to curtail gun violence. It's been proven over and over again through countries throughout the world. The way the U.S. is structured systemically, it stinks and will not ever improve because of the way it's done.
So the only thing to do is to make
people happy to entertain other ideas, but there's no way we can when you're strapped with white people in the 1700s telling you what the laws are.
So I think you have to turn to science fiction. You have to make people bulletproof. Elon Musk and a bunch of other companies, he's got Neuralink, which is he puts a chip in your head and lets you operate stuff just by thinking about it. So, and maybe his company will succeed, and eventually we're going to have chips in our head. Here's the solution. The deal is that 50 years from now, 70 years from now, there will be the technology to download your brain. So if you're worried that you're going to get shot or whatever else is going to kill you, you download your brain periodically, you get shot, your body dies, but your brain's been stored in a box, and you get rebooted. Maybe you don't get to have a body for a while in 2090, but at least you get to live in freaking cyberspace till they grow you a new body.
And that might exist in the future, but in the near future, something else they can do. They do this in courtrooms and they do it in airports. They basically secure the area. Now, so if you're interested in getting rid of this, what you do is have security areas like you have in airports and you have courtrooms. But here's what I see. You're not interested. So it's a wasted conversation. So until they repeal the
hold on a second. Kim actually made a point, and everything she said, just register them. I guess she's talking about the migrants and make them pay taxes. So what is your answer to that? Because you are a pension attorney and everything, Nick. But she's saying just register the migrants and make them pay taxes. She put that in the chat and everything.
Are we back on immigration now, Mark?
No, let's finish that other topic for a second. Here's another science fiction solution. I've read a bunch of science fiction novels where in the future, rich people live in fortress communities, and they just don't leave.
They do that now.
They do that in Florida right now.
Right. So,
they do that in North Carolina.
But because let's say you're a rich person and you've used your money, it's 2045, and you're a rich person, you're 106 years old, but you look like you're in your 70s because you've used your tens of millions of bucks to buy relative youth and health, and the rest of the country is pissed. If you were out on the street, people would see this rich ass 106-year-old buying Extra Life and attack you. So you would have to live in a fortress community, which would be free of guns, free of people who hate you for your wealth. And so, and yeah, you can
Well,
argue.
actually, Rick, it does exist. When I was in Palm Beach County, Florida, I was shocked to see Palm Beach itself is not a secured community, which is one reason I didn't live there, is because you can just walk in to Palm Beach County and walk into these people's houses. It was really weird. Especially lived in Boca. In Boca, 80% of the homes, including ones I lived, were in gated communities. So I moved to North Carolina. I was shocked. There was like no gated communities. It was just weird.
Nick,
Live
hold
in
on a
these
second.
places,
Nick, hold on a
and
second.
you guys don't have gated communities.
No,
You don't
there are
have
gated
security.
communities.
You're like,
Hold
you're
on a
like
second.
this.
We have them, but they're
They
very
have 'em.
restricted because some
There's
of them
gated.
have
Very few.
made it difficult for EMTs to get into fire departments. And
Oh,
we're
man.
not really
What-
supposed to have any in this area, but there was one that was established a few years back
Yeah, because
down the road, and a lot of it's due to the limitations. You know, they're just not always the best. Went to a gated community a few days ago in Virginia, and the guard was just letting everybody in, not checking anybody.
Yeah,
Nobody.
well, the one I was
Two
in.
carloads of. I love my friends and family, but we were two carloads of really, you know, fun, crazy people. And he just waved us on, never stopped us, never looked at our identity. We didn't even have a pass in our car window. No pass.
So I just looked it up. 9 million Americans live in gated communities. That's almost 3% of Americans.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I knew they were
Yeah,
gated
there you
communities,
go.
but sometimes
That's
those
pretty
gated
big.
communities can be very interesting neighborhoods. Because even when I was helping a friend of mine, I think this was a year and a half ago during the height of the pandemic, as she was traveling around delivering DoorDash, she went to a very suspect gated community. I want to say it was in Wake County because the way it was gated, it looked almost like a fortress, and you almost had to deal with that whole notion. So there were some very tight gated communities in North Carolina, Florida, and other places as well. But you mentioned this whole notion of imperialism and you know, which has been a topic that's been here for decades and centuries. Apparently, one of the African countries is just now in the 2025, just now getting around to kicking out one of the allies in that sense, or one of the imperial powers, because Ivory Coast has announced the withdrawal of French troops. So they've had French troops there for decades, but they said that they are to leave the country. So we'll see whether the Ivory Coast has success in this notion of not having imperial power over them, or whether they'll be able to run their country successfully. But it'll be interesting to see how that plays out, because the Ivory Coast asked French troops to leave, becoming the latest African country to do so. So we'll see if they are able to govern themselves.
Of course they can. They don't need the bloody French. I mean, are you serious? You know, they should kick the French out a long time ago. You know, that's absolutely insane.
I don't know if you guys noticed, but my background keeps moving around. I'm playing with AI right now. I had no idea that it does this, but my camera automatically moves my screen around now. It's pretty scary. I have no idea when it's going to move, how it's going to move, what it's going to show. And it
Speaking of
just
that,
started
you know,
this. I
that
didn't
might
set a
be a
button.
big effect on and media, Kim, coming up is AI. They already have, who's this guy, Simon Crowell, whatever his name is. And they're showing all these things and they're all excited about, you can tell it's all fake AI. Now we have our own fake AI, and this person shows up a lot. He talks a lot, but I know he's not real. He's actually completely computer generated. There he is, Jacoby McDuffie.
well, no, Jacoby's real. We're talking about
He
AI,
is
but
the
before we get to
progressive
AI,
version of AI, completely computer generated, guys. You know, so everything he
Best
says,
AI
is
in
progressive
town.
because he's
that's
been
AI in
programmed
town and everything.
to be
But before we get to
progressive.
AI, I did have a question for Sasha, because we've talked a little bit about this with Trump and everything, this whole notion of tariffs and everything like that. So apparently the smart people that you like to talk to, and I know you talk to them regularly, Nick, the Chinese and everything, have slapped a dual-use export ban on 28 U.S. defense firms. So Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, and a number of others. So the Ministry of Commerce announced a move on Thursday, with 10 of the firms also placed on the unreliable entities list over their Taiwan arms sales. So are we going to get hit by reverse tariffs from some of these countries that are the countries that are the ones that Trump wants to go after. So apparently that is the first, like maybe folly or yeah, kind of like the first.
Okay, China, I keep
Yeah, so
saying,
what?
and I believe this, that for the most part, China is patient. It's just going to wait for to become the economically dominant power in the world. It doesn't now. China is constantly we're in a war, cyber war with China and Russia, and we're trying to hack them. They try to hack us thousands of times a day. They're sending out computer viruses and probes, and we're constantly fighting them. But that doesn't mean we're going to have people from China come over and blow up Teslas.
Yeah, but it's also worse than you think because of BRICS. BRICS is Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And what they want to do is, of course, undermine the United States of America. Yet, here's the thing we need to do some research on, Rick. How many of these countries do we give aid to? Because there's a whole bunch of new ones.
We have 800 foreign military bases. We have been the world's friend since at least the end of World War II. And it's been to our benefit to be all over the place and to throw money at all these other countries. And because we're 4% of the world's population. Being the world's friend means we can grab the best and the brightest from the other 96% of the world.
But not if we have an immigration policy that doesn't allow it. And this is what Elon Musk is arguing about. The H-1B visa allows people to come in with limits of 65,000. He wants to bring in more of the best and the brightest. Then you have this idiot called Steve Bannon. He goes, nah, you're going to take American jobs. Steve Bannon is a moron compared to Elon Musk. I'm sorry. You're talking about
Musk. I think Musk is arguing that people from India aren't smarter than people from America, but they're better trained.
Well, and it could be. They have talented people in India, I'm telling you. And we know that through the chess world. The Indians won the chess Olympics this year. I mean, the Olympian. They had the best chess team. They currently have the world champion. India's got a lot of talented people. Crazy not to.
Toby.
Yeah, wait, our AI guy has just arrived.
But the issue comes into play. Is I guess our new view of the world is going to be analogous to our immigration policy. And what Rick was just pointing out is that China is playing the long game and being the world's friend, which we used to do, being able to throw money and say, hey, we're here to help you. What the US's policy has become is more of an adversarial. We're going to now throw tariffs at you unless you do what we want, or we're going to attack you. So that's going to already push people towards and away from what we want to, away from us. In a similar sense, no matter how many times you say that with the H-1B visas, this is what Musk wants to do. Musk is only thinking of the cream of the crop, only to help Tesla, SpaceX, his entities to actually enrich himself. But what he's also forgetting is all the immigrants help every facet of our actual economy, from even the low-wage workers to actually doing the hard skills of just going out to pick our crops, to even the doctors, nurses, to even whatever you can think of. Immigrants touch every facet of our life, and they, coming from different areas of society, may not start out as those, hey, this is the cream of the crop coming from India, or this is the cream of the crop coming from wherever. But you're forgetting Nigeria has immigrants that have come that have actually created businesses here. You're forgetting that people coming from Mexico, Colombia, Guatemala, and so on and so forth have created businesses here that have helped our society. And then even worse, this is where coming back to the analogy, the idea that the top and the big messenger is saying that immigrants are bad. He literally just used what happened in New Orleans to say that people coming or immigrants are horrible. So do you expect the cream of the crop to come here and get abused? It's not going to happen. So we're already pushing even the cream of the crop away, the people that you're saying that, hey, we're going to use the H-1B visas for by saying all immigrants are bad. And that's not the way. It's not helpful to our society to even demonize people.
Here's how it works. If you're in America, say you're 20 years old, your grandparents own a furniture store, you live with your parents in a 3,500 square foot house. Maybe you go into coding, maybe you just dick around. In India, your parents own a water buffalo or sticks. And if you manage to get a scholarship, you're going to study your ass off. You're going to go into STEM. If you're in Nigeria, same freaking deal, because you can't coast because your family doesn't have shit. You're going to work harder. You're going to get trained. You're going to work for less people trained in coding apparently won't work in the U.S. for less. Americans won't work for less than 150 G's a year. If you're from India, you'll take an offer for 110 grand. Come over here on an H-1B. It's freaking paradise.
Or even less. But also, I'm just an analogy for the chess people out there and the chess scholarship programs. They recruit people from all over the world, from Europe, from Asia, from Elshan Maratabadi, who's been here. He came from Iran, of all places, on a chess scholarship. And so the thing is, because you get the best and the brightest people. So we need to change our immigration policy, get rid of that statute of limitations, whatever it says, statute of liberty, that says, bring us your poor, you're tired and hungry. No, get rid of that. That's not who you want. We want your rich, your talented, and your hard workers. That's who we want. That's what America's all about. If you're poor and you're tired or hungry, go to Jatovi's house. But please don't come to my house. Okay, go on, Jatovi.
And then my house would be more successful than yours. That's the way that works. Because if you ask,
your house would be more crowded than mine, but that's
because
mine would definitely
based
be more
on the Statue of Liberty.
Because in my house, we're going to have rich people, we're going to have talented people, we're going to have hardworking people. All the poor people will go to your house. The tired people will go to your house. Okay, and the hungry people, they can all go to your house.
Here's a question. This is easy. This is easy, Nick.
This is a great
when you were building a house in North Carolina or building a house wherever you were from,
building houses. That's too much work.
Was it the rich individual? Who was it that built your house?
I have no idea. I buy a house.
So those individuals that built your house weren't the individuals that you're saying are going to stay at your house. So you, one, don't have a house to live in. Now, two, the food that you purchased while you were in the U.S., where did you get that food? Was it at one of these rich individuals' houses that you said that you the super cream of the crop, or did somebody else pick your food? Because it sounds like that house that you don't live in now, because it's not even built, doesn't even have food. So those people that you're talking about are not even going to be living there because they can't eat. So
you missed the program.
The list of how the immigrants have helped our society by bringing in those individuals based on the Statue of Liberty. But you want to change it to where the individuals that come can't even help you change a tire.
No. You got to read what it says. Bring your rich, talented, and hard workers. I don't mind.
But you are already.
You're describing. Can help build my house and can help put food on the table. No problem with them at all.
So here's another great idea that won't happen because we can't implement ideas because Congress doesn't do anything. Stay-home scholarships. It's been estimated by numerous people that if Trump wants to deport 1 million people a year, that's going to cost $88 billion a year. That's $88,000 per person deported. hugely expensive. Instead, stop the problem at the source with stay home scholarships. You want to come to the U.S., you apply for a grant, and the U.S. says, here's $5,000 a year for you to go to college and then come see us in 3 or 4 years when you have a degree in STEM, and you get to skip the line. You get to come to the U.S. to continue your studies or work in this field, get a green card, but don't come now, get educated first. And here's a little money to get educated.
Yeah, well, that's the reason I'm saying Trump, if his policy or the U.S. government policy is just to deport, that's a bad policy. Pay to play, which we've gone over here before. That brings money to the United States as opposed to pushing money away from the United States.
Just to point out,
and as you pointed out, Rick, they do that in the United States already because we have that $800,000 golden visa. But again, we can have a $20,000 and $10,000 entry fee for Jatovi's friends, the hard workers. I don't mind that.
Point out again.
See, I'm
Nick,
helping your
we're
hard
still
workers
going down
out.
the wrong road because again, once
10,
we start
10 or
off,
20 grand, baby, and you're here. Otherwise,
we're starting off with with what Rick said. That's a good idea, and that would help out society a lot. But in terms of the when you start off your bring us your rich, again, talent fits in every field. So then we're back to the same thing that's on there right now. If you just go talented and hard workers, you're adding in rich. Rich means you've got people that aren't going to pick those crops, that aren't going to actually help out in the hotels, that aren't going to help out in the nursing field, that aren't going to help out in these other areas that you're talking about, because these aren't rich fields. These areas.
Here's another. Here's
so
another. I have another insane idea. Let's just do Squid Game. America's most talented, undocumented immigrants. You take 10,000 of them and you put them through tests and you knock out like half at a time and then the other half. And after you put them through 6 tests, you're left with 300 people who have proved themselves. They get
Some
to
might
get
actually
in.
like that because that sounds like a game
Put it
show,
into
and
a
we know that we love game shows and everything, even in America. So that sounds like a straight up game show, the migrant contest or something like that, and everything that can come up with some better name. Jacoby can come up with that better name. But I did have a question because one of the things that people have talked about, I think Greenland actually offered a counter proposal because Nick, one of the things you talked about is this notion of what are you getting for it? And I guess the Greenland folks and the rulers of Greenland were basically like, I've got a counter proposal. So the counter proposal is that, yes, because there's this whole notion of buying and making Greenland part of the U.S. and the Greenland rulers were like, how about we give you our education system and we give you our health system, which apparently is better than our health system, and all along those lines. So what is your answer to that counter proposal that apparently Greenland offered?
Greenland's just trolling us because they know that we're fools.
Yeah.
But Greenland is, we should make a deal with Greenland because Greenland is this giant frickin' island covered with glaciers that are melting because of climate change. And will any of it become livable land? Probably some of it. Right now, people can only live on the coast because it's frickin' glaciers.
yeah, and some of it is. It's a big
One
twist.
question about this immigration issue and deportation. If they've been here for, say, 10 years and still have not become documented for whatever stupid reasons, but they have been providing services to our country, maybe paying taxes, but I think most of them are probably paid under the table, which you should really punish the employers, not the immigrants. But where are you going to send them if they really don't have a place to go to? Where?
Oh, they're going to send them back to their home country. I mean, that's.
But there's, what if they can't go back home?
Oh, sure they can. You just do like you did in New York. You just drop them off. That's the reason we have airplanes.
So
It's just,
But
Walk,
she's talking
there
about
you
like
are.
the folks
So
that are
basically,
coming with asylum.
You pay,
So
you
basically,
apply, and you're out. Okay. I'm
you're-
sure that most of the immigrants will accept that. I have to pay to play to go to Spain. They get to pay to play to come to
So,
our
but what about the ones that have been here for 10 years?
So what?
Because there are many that have been here for 10 years They have been working. They've not committed crimes.
Then they should have the money to pay, so they can pay their fine and keep going.
No. So
How many people
No,
here?
there's no free lunch.
No,
guys. No free lunch. Come on, Progressive. Wait.
You know,
TV
I was
dominates
reminded of
this.
something this morning,
on.
and the
No
other
free
day,
lunch,
something
baby.
that Nick
The
brings
free
up
lunch
many
is over at
times.
Toby's house this afternoon, but not in the rest of this country. No way.
Many of the U.S. citizens have no savings, no money.
That's
U.S.
too-
citizens.
Well, we're not talking about citizens. We're talking about immigrants, hardworking immigrants.
So how do you expect immigrants to save money?
Because
if
they're
the US
hardworking immigrants. They're not stupid. lazy
Not
immigrants.
everyone's like Sasha and will, store their money in
Sasha would
great
come up with
places
10 grand.
and,
He
and
loves
be,
Canada.
and
So,
save.
this is where
Sasha would write the check if he wanted to be.
this is what Kim is pointing out is how ridiculous the notion of this mass deportation is,
No, it
because
isn't
many of the
ridiculous. It's
individuals,
gonna happen.
yeah,
you guys,
many
you guys
of the
are,
individuals they're
you guys
talking about
don't
have
wake
never
up. It
been
will
to,
happen.
don't speak the
It will
language
happen.
of,
Sasha,
don't
has
even
your hand up?
understand
Yeah.
It will
the
happen.
country
You'll
that
see
they're
You'll see progressive
supposedly
win.
originated from.
Hold on a second, it's
He's gonna
Sasha, sir.
win.
Sasha.
You're going to see mass deportations. If you
Sasha.
don't come up
I think
with a solution,
all
fuck it.
issue of immigration, this is electoral issue to entertain people because it doesn't mean anything.
Thank you.
The people, illegal immigrants or legal immigrants, there is not much difference between them. If like Kim proposes that they're living here for 10 years, so in 10 years they have worked hard and saved some money, and they have probably businesses, and they have successful families, and they send children to school. I mean, there is not much difference between these people and born Americans. In fact, I would suspect that they're much better equipped with life in America, and they're much ahead. And like 50% of Americans, they do have $400 in savings.
Sasha, next time I skip the line and go in front of you, I'll say
Doesn't
there's
matter. If you're capable to skip the line and the line allows you to do so, just skip the line and go ahead. It's a country of opportunities. So if you stay in line like that, I'm staying in line for the next 7.5 years, and another one skips the line, goes ahead. Bravo, just do it. Just do it and don't even think about it. Never, ever pay $10,000 to American lawyers.
And Kamala Harris is going to win the election too, guys.
So the idea of a line, Nick, the idea of a line is a false premise and only used
What
to
do you
garner
mean it's a
votes.
false premise?
Hold on, Nick, I
you.
got you. It's
Yeah,
actually an incorrect statement to say, oh, well, these people are skipping the line. But you know what the problem really is not that they're skipping the line, it's the line itself, because we have not created an opportunity for these individuals to actually have their cases seen. So when we're talking about skipping the line isn't their fault. The line is our fault because we have not provided the lawyers, the judges, the actual line itself. All we've done is actually backed people up in the different areas that they're coming from and saying, here, wait here until we get to you. But it doesn't work that way when these individuals are trying to improve their lives and trying to get away from particular things that we don't even know about. So what we could do is actually provide the opportunity, as Sasha's talking about, provide the opportunity for them to move through that line rather than complain that, oh, well, they skipped the line. No, all that's doing is just attacking others and pitting people who are trying to actually improve their lives, pitting two society or groups of individuals against each other rather than providing that opportunity that is necessary.
Yeah,
No, we're not. All I'm doing is saying,
get ready to wind down. I got to put some levity on this situation and everything. Hold on, I got to put some levity on this situation.
You want them to have caviar. You want them to stay at the Roosevelt Hotel and provided breakfast, lunch, and dinners because they're immigrants and they're illegals. Come on, Jatovi. By the way, they're already doing that in New York. Thank you very much.
Let me put some levity on this whole situation as we get ready to wind down.
I don't think that's being paid for by the government, Nick. I don't think what you're discussing.
And our country is broke. Our country is
Yeah, I
broke.
know. I
right?
don't think our country's paying for that. I think a humanitarian is
York.
providing them services to provide them work. I think that majority of the people that are here, without documentation, probably work for some of the government. And that's why you're not going to see a mass deportation, because they're not going to be able to afford a real American to do and clean up after them. So I'm just,
Yeah, no, I know
I
we're
feel
running
like
down. I guess with some
majority of
levity.
the immigrants were brought over here many years ago by the wealthy, by the government. That's how this all started. A lot of them, they work for the farmers, so, if you go and do something so rash like what Trump wants to do and knee jerking, we're going to end up with something similar like the way he managed COVID, which to me killed many
Killed many
people.
people.
And
So,
then just
I gotta put
to
some
add
levity on
in
this because we've
even
only got
just
a few
real
more
quick,
minutes
Mark,
to go and
to add
everything.
in just a tad bit more, Nick, how are we gonna you keep saying, oh, will they get a free lunch, blah 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 blah. Again, that's
Caviar.
just that's
nobody
talking
gets
Why?
very much.
But what I'm saying is, how are you going to fill the void of 75.6 billion in taxes?
75, that's it? But
How are
we
you
have
gonna?
no problem
That's
with
it.
that.
Yeah. So how are you going to fill that?
Wait. I haven't answered that question. We stopped this free internet for all. That'll save 60 billion. And we stopped free EVs that you propose to give to everybody, Joe Biden. So the minute you get rid of it, you can easily
Nobody was
pay
giving
to
free
get rid of all these
EVs.
immigrants.
Nobody's giving free
and
EVs.
everything.
What are you talking about? Free electronic vehicles?
Hold on a second. I think hold on. I think I've solved both your problems. I think I solved both
They
your
can
problems.
stay if they
If
pay.
you
I don't see a problem with it.
if you
I
follow
don't know why you
internet,
guys
if you
think
follow
free
internet
lunch is
politics and everything, maybe we can just all do a catfishing policy. Because if you turn around, every time you turn around, there is somebody from one of these foreign countries that is begging somebody to give some money and everything. Like we've all got money growing out of that golden sidewalk and everything. Because I can tell you that if you go on Facebook, you'll get all kinds of proposals to give away 10,000 or 15,000 or $500 of your hard-earned money. So maybe that's what we all got to do is start just doing these catfishing programming. Yeah.
Well, no, the Democrats have been doing that for years. That's the reason the United States is in big trouble. And then, of course, Donald didn't help it the last 4 years. Hopefully, we're going to have some sane government now that Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy are president of the United States. So now we have a new
Elon
leadership.
had to change his
We'll see
name
what
on
happens.
Twitter so he can continue on supporting
he
the
got a new
AFD,
name.
which is
Well, I think
supporting
President
neo-Nazis.
Musk
But
is
just
going
point
to
that
do much
out.
better.
All right, so
I think it's
yeah,
President Maximus. Isn't that
Donald's
his
going
new
to be
name?
on the golf course. Go run the
Musk
country.
is a
for
proven
Elon.
administrator. He's able to run companies pretty well.
No.
Ramaswamy is is much more of a charlatan than Musk is.
Speaking
Wait,
of
wait,
that,
wait,
I did have a
Rick,
quick
Rick.
question to ask Rick. and
Twitter got
everything.
running. Twitter's being run into
All right,
the ground.
he
SpaceX
destroyed
asked
Twitter.
them
He
to
turned
stop
Twitter
using his
into a
name.
horrible
And
mess.
Jacoby's
actually
trying to
being
attack
hurt
the
because of
wealthiest
all the
person in the
actions
world,
from his other
and
stuff.
he's going to lose
So,
that argument
He's
every
a
day.
smart guy who
Go
runs
ahead,
stuff into the
Jacoby.
ground.
Tell us how you're much better at running companies than Elon Musk.
Just really quickly, Rick and everything.
I'm not super defending Musk. I'm just saying that Musk and Ramaswamy are not the same. Musk is a lunatic in many ways, but he's also a captain of industry. Ramaswamy is much less so. That he bought an Alzheimer's drug that didn't work. He pumped and dumped it, made $2 billion, and then sold it before it could fail another clinical trial. The drug never made.
And how much is Elon Musk worth? Oh, Elon Musk is worth what?
You talk about. You remember Elon did inherit a lot of his money
Elon Musk
and then purchased these companies that were already successful.
No,
And
Nick,
then
it's time
made
for us to wrap
them
up because it's almost the
successful
top of the hour and everything. I was going to ask Rick really
I will
quickly
make
about-
one prediction. Elon Musk will become our next president.
Well, he might already be president and everything.
He is president.
Rick,
Then you have to redo the Constitution.
shut down from office? Because I saw that in the chat.
I said it. It's here today. I predicted it. Mark my word. He will become our next
The Republican
president.
Party's already calling him a prime minister.
Yeah, I mean, there you go. I think this was the best move of his career. because he will be able to monetize all of his businesses like he has his satellites.
He
in
doubled
space.
his net worth from 200 billion to 450 billion in the past 2 months. So yeah, you might be right.
And everything he did in space, he did with our money, with tax dollar money. He everything he put up there, now he gets to monetize it, make money on it. So I mean, he's to me more brilliant than Trump when it comes to doing things like that, because I don't know of many other people. I know of other people who have, but I don't know of a lot of people who have achieved that much wealth off of the tax dollars money.
So also I guess another predictive note is, I don't know how many people he's going to preside over, because now that we have the anti-vaxxer in chief going into the health department, we do have a breakout of finding avian flu in the wastewater, which means bird flu is going to start spreading the same time we get RFK in the office or into his position, who's going to take away everything else. So now we're going to have iron lung running wild, measles running wild, and bird flu running wild.
And that's the end of our show today on a positive note. And we look forward to seeing all of you guys tomorrow on World Edition. Thank you for joining us, and
later on this evening on World Politics. It is Thursday.
That's right.